Although the seas have been one of humanity's main transportation routes for centuries, they have also witnessed some of the greatest tragedies in history.
Where is the first mate?
Today, we're going to tell you about the 5 biggest shipwrecks in history. If you're ready, let's uncover these terrifying disasters that shocked the world. Although everyone knows the story of the Titanic, most of us know it through movies. On the evening of April 14, 1912, the massive passenger ship Titanic, measuring 269 meters in length, weighing 46,328 gross tons, and with a capacity of 3,528 passengers, was gliding across the Atlantic Ocean. The crew was aware that there were icebergs in the area. In just 37 seconds, alarms were sounded, the engines were completely stopped, and efforts were made to reverse them. But this was likely one of the critical misjudgments. Bringing such a massive ship to a halt required at least 800 meters of space. At that moment, however, the iceberg was only 274 meters away. As Titanic's engines began reversing, the ship slowly veered to port, but it was already too late. The Titanic struck the enormous iceberg at an angle, and the submerged projections of the iceberg tore through the ship's iron rivets like a zipper. It was a scene of utter chaos and desperation. The ship's orchestra famously continued to play in an effort to keep spirits high. Hundreds of people threw themselves into the freezing waters, which were -2 degrees Celsius, hoping to survive, but most died from hypothermia. Many drowned while trying to reach their loved ones. Before the Titanic sank, it split in two, crushing dozens of people beneath it. Hundreds more drowned inside the ship's cabins as it disappeared into the depths. And that's the truth. The Titanic didn't sink just because it hit an iceberg. It sank because of design flaws, because of poor material choices and technological shortcomings. It sank due to a lack of proper equipment, failures in communication, and ultimately because of human ambition. The Titanic was the result of a series of preventable mistakes combined with sheer misfortune. However, even the tragic end of the Titanic seems relatively mild compared to some of the other shipwrecks in history. The date is December 20th, 1987. Imagine this. You're aboard a passenger ship, heading toward Manila with hope as the new year approaches. The ship is crowded. Yes, very crowded. Officially, it's designed for 1,500 people, but that day, there are over 4,000 on board. Most of them don't have tickets. Illegal boarding is common. People whose names aren't even on the manifest are packed together, eager to reunite with their loved ones, moving forward with hope. And then, a tanker emerges from the darkness. A moment of contact, a spark, and a massive explosion. Doña Paz was a passenger ferry that operated in the Philippines at the time. The 93-meter-long ferry had a capacity of 1,518 passengers. However, bribed officials allowed approximately 4,400 people to board this already overcrowded ferry. On that evening, MV Doña Paz was tragically involved in a catastrophic collision with a tanker, the MT Vector, which was either stationary or moving very slowly. The massive explosion caused by the flammable oil on the tanker engulfed the entire ferry. The fire spread so quickly that it became nearly impossible for the passengers on board to escape. Official records state that more than 4,000 people lost their lives. However, the true scale of the tragedy makes it impossible to fully comprehend. This horrific shipwreck resulted in more deaths than the Titanic, and it is recorded as the largest maritime disaster in peacetime history. This time, we turn our course to the warm waters off the coast of West Africa, near Senegal. The year is 2002. What begins as an ordinary journey soon turns into one of the greatest maritime disasters in history, the MV Lijula tragedy. Although the official capacity was 580 people, the ferry was overloaded for various reasons. According to the manifests, there were approximately 1,163 passengers on board. The ship lost its balance due to the stormy weather. The overcrowding and uneven distribution of cargo significantly weakened the ferry's stability. There were insufficient emergency equipment and communication devices on board. This lack of preparedness led to a delayed rescue operation when the disaster struck. As the storm, huge waves, and poor weather conditions rocked MV Lijula, the captain's decision not to cancel the trip had already planted the seeds of the catastrophe. In the late hours of the night, the ship began to lose its balance and tilt. Within just a few minutes, the ferry capsized completely and the nightmare began. After the ferry completely capsized, only 64 people managed to survive. According to official records, 1,863 passengers lost their lives, but in reality, the numbers could be even higher. Now, let's rewind a bit further. The year is 1915. We are in the middle of World War I. Europe is in turmoil. The battlefronts are a bloodbath, but civilian life continues in some way. RMS Lusitania was one of Britain's leading passenger ships during World War I. On May 7, 1915, while crossing the vast waters of the Atlantic, the ship was suddenly attacked. A torpedo struck, and just a few seconds later, a second explosion occurred. The cause of this second explosion is still a subject of debate. But the truth is this: within 18 minutes, the massive Lusitania sank into the sea. In that short time, there was barely any opportunity for passengers to escape. Andrea Doria was a luxury passenger ship that began its voyages in 1953, and it was the pride of Italy. Measuring 213 meters in length and with a capacity of over 1,200 passengers, it was super stylish, super comfortable, and equipped with cutting-edge technology for its time. July 25, 1956, that fateful night. In the same area, there was another passenger ship, the MS Stockholm, flying the Swedish flag. The captain of the Stockholm misinterpreted the distance on the radar. Believing that Andrea Doria was farther away, he altered his course, when in fact, the two ships were on a direct collision course. The ship did not sink immediately after the collision, but it sustained serious damage. Andrea Doria remained afloat for approximately 11 hours, providing a window for rescue teams to reach the scene. Unfortunately, during this time, 46 people lost their lives among the approximately 1,706 passengers and crew on board. On the Stockholm, however, only a few minor casualties were reported. Shipwrecks are among the most tragic events in history. These disasters led to significant changes in maritime safety protocols. The lessons learned from these accidents have shaped modern maritime transport. What do you think about shipwrecks? Don't forget to share your thoughts with us and subscribe to our channel.
History was explained today. The Titanic is 2.5.
With a terrific crack. Luckily I didn't hit anything when I dropped in. There were bodies all over the place.